Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube/internet podcast, Garbage Time Takes. We are back with a three-man gang, including myself, Derek, and as always, our co-host, Bobby Epler,
What's good? What's good?
as well as the long-awaited return of our king, Dennis Weaver.
Well, it's been the long-awaited return of all of us, if I remember correctly here.
That
And
is
I
fair.
mean, I'm thinking, Derek, weren't we missing Bobby for a couple weeks?
Uh,
What you
we,
know?
I
Was that
mean, we've been missing people left and right. We've had multiple
That's true.
cancellations.
That's true.
It is all mind melded together in my brain. I don't even remember who missed the last episode, if I'm being quite honest.
But we're back now.
But
We're
we're
back
back
now,
now,
and exactly,
correct,
we're ready to rock and roll.
and that's all that matters at this point. And one of we've like I said, we've missed quite a bit. We'll start in the beginning. The Super Bowl. Never had a Super Bowl recap. That would have been the first episode. Um, 3 weeks ago at this point, 2 weeks ago at this point, the Kansas City Chiefs did, in fact, defeat the San Francisco 49ers, a game that I only watched the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter in addition to overtime because I was too sad to watch it. And I told you guys, and Dennis, I think you were here, or were both of you here last time? I don't remember. I told whoever was with us before. It was all three of us. Bob joined late. That's what happened. Um, not to bet against Patrick Mahomes. And I didn't bet against Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes came through. That was pretty much the end of the story there. I don't know if you guys have anything more to add. I was sad that Mahomes is chasing down Tom Brady's legacy, but I couldn't stomach the idea of the Lions holding the Super Bowl trophy in the place of the 49ers, and ultimately didn't have to envision that. So that was the lesser of the two evils for me. Any closing thoughts on the Super Bowl from you guys?
It's funny you bring up the word bet because I'm having flashbacks now, and I don't think I even told you guys this story, but we were watching it with Andre and Kenny and some people, and I had almost in jest before the game started just threw out a fun bet that I saw, which was the game to go to double overtime at plus 10,000, and I threw $10 on that to win $1,000. And if you recall the ending of that game,
That close.
so once again, Patrick Mahomes finding a way to just absolutely run me amok, uh, do anything in his power to rip my heart out at all costs. So that was very disappointing. But honestly, that was my only takeaway from the game. It was I don't know if you guys felt this. It kind of felt like maybe this will be a quick side topic before we move into something else because I would like to hear your guys' thoughts. It kind of felt to me like the football season was almost too long this year. And maybe it wasn't for you as Lions fans because there's so much excitement, but
No.
it just like the Super Bowl could have been a couple weeks earlier. Like we could, I don't know. It felt like I was just I was kind of good on football
Yeah,
until August.
Dennis, I can't say I felt that way. Can't say I felt that way at all, actually. I mean, unless, of course, I wish the season would have ended after the Lions lost. Yes, but uh, once the Lions lost, I didn't care about the Super Bowl anyway. So to me, it didn't matter whether it would have been 2 weeks away or 2 months away at that point. But how you feel, Dennis, is how I felt for the past 24 years of my existence. But not
Right.
this year. I don't know how Bobby feels.
Um, I definitely started to feel that way for sure the week in between the championship games and the Super Bowl. I was like, okay, what are we waiting for here? Like this is dumb that there's like a week off and but as far as my general comments go on the Super Bowl, I too was like Derek, I did not really watch much, but I can't say it was necessarily because of the game. It was more because the only station I had available to watch it on was Nickelodeon, and the Nickelodeon broadcasts are absolutely horrendous. Um, you know, I may have liked it if
Oh
I was
man,
like a 4 year old, maybe, but outside of that, it was just so mind numbingly dumb that
Patrick Starr just sliming people left and right.
about halfway through the second quarter, I had to give it the ixnay and turned it off and went and did something else because I was like, I can't tolerate this anymore.
Bobby, can you not get into the YouTube, the TV? Still?
No, Dennis, I can't.
Oh my gosh! My apologies. We'll fix that. We'll fix that later. We'll fix that later. You should be able to access that.
Yeah, just
Well, I could access Nickelodeon. Let me tell you, Dennis, Larry the Lobster running around on the football field was not cutting the mustard for me.
yeah. I guess I'd say just
Pearl,
as a,
was there an appearance from Pearl?
No Pearl, Dennis. No appearance from Pearl. However, co-commentating the game on color commentary, we had SpongeBob and Patrick essentially, which was
I mean,
and
you
it was
have to.
clear that
That's,
whoever was playing SpongeBob and Patrick for the game had little to no idea how the game of football actually worked, and so therefore it made the commentary very, very zoinks, basically.
Bob. Would
is
you
it better than Joe Buck?
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Bob? Would you be surprised if I told you that those were SpongeBob and Patrick's actual voice actors?
I would not, Derek. I would not, because they've probably been in a studio for the last 20 years.
Yeah,
I didn't have a chance to
children's
watch a
cartoon,
game.
so probably not watching much football.
yeah. The Nickelodeon broadcast looked like it would have been one of those things to tune in, just for a few plays here and there. I can't imagine having it as my primary broadcast.
So
As
funny.
yeah,
So funny.
but it's hilarious that you endured it for a near 2 full quarters. The only other thing I was gonna bring up, Kyle Shanahan is pretty much, gathering more and more onto the can't win the big one claims, just constantly choking double-digit leads in the second half. And not to mention having no idea how Super Bowl overtime works. Seemed to be a pretty catastrophic blunder. The Chiefs seemed well prepared from everything that came out in the post-game interviews, and the 49ers players were all like, yeah, we thought it was like the regular season, that's why we took the ball first. So, didn't know if you guys had any thoughts on Kyle Shanahan's legacy.
Well, my only thought there is, I mean, you guys remember this. This is a little deja vu. I mean, think back to the pre-pandemic podcast episode I remember we did on the Super Bowl. We were also questioning Kyle Shanahan for losing that Super Bowl, and if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that would have
So,
been 49ers Chiefs, the original,
right, the first go around. So,
part one.
eh, there is something to be said for Shanahan not being able to win, the big game. I'm still someone who gives a lot of credit when you're able to put something together consistently that's better than 30 other NFL franchises. Um, and losing on a single night doesn't shouldn't necessarily define you, but it does. Because it's the biggest game every single year. It's the biggest game and it's the one everyone wants to win.
Bob, any closing thoughts before we move on?
Go Lions.
Love it. Um, that's really all there is for NFL news. I mean, I think on the last pod we touched on all the head coaching hires that have, uh, you know,
We did indeed at length.
ad
No,
nauseum.
no, no job for Mike Vrabel. Bobby, you can take your victory lap if you'd like.
Yeah, no job for Mike Vrabel, no job for Bill Belichick. We'll see where they go from there. Jim Harbaugh raided Michigan staff. Um, Sharon Moore's done a decent job of, filling the shoes of the men before the current positions. But yeah, there isn't really too much to add from the NFL front as far as I'm concerned. The Lions released Tracy Walker. I think one of the Okwara brothers got signed. And outside of that, we're JJ McCarthy's a consensus first round pick among media and anonymous executives. Um, Dennis, if Desmond Ritter can be drafted as high as he was for being how bad he is, I think it makes sense that JJ McCarthy is a first rounder. Don't you dare shake your head.
Hey, look at you've done nothing but absolutely trash on Desmond Ritter ever since he stepped on an NFL field. And so if that's the benchmark, then
Well,
that tells you all you need to know, because you could be comparing him to players way better than Desmond Ritter and saying that that he's better than them, but you're not. You picked Desmond Ritter.
well, I was just making that a point because I saw you shaking your head, and so I was just specifically jabbing at UC. That's what that was all about.
I see. I see. And UC hasn't had any other quarterbacks even on the level of Desmond Ritter because they suck. And so you couldn't even come up with a better one if you wanted. I see. I see.
I mean, JJ McCarthy will at least be better than Dak Prescott. That as far as I'm concerned. Who you had as an MVP candidate, Dennis, in our previous episode. So I think is that bar high enough for you, Dennis?
He had one bad game through the first
That's
16
what
weeks
I'm
of the season.
saying. That's what I'm saying. He'll be at least as good as MVP candidate Dak Prescott.
That's just Bobby, help me out here. Come on. I cannot be the only one who thinks this is absolutely asinine.
Well, I mean, JJ McCarthy would essentially have to win his division the first year if he wanted to be on track with Dak Prescott, as I recall. So we'll see. We'll see.
Derek, would you have been national champions? One question. Would you have been national champions without Blake Corn?
I mean, I don't know.
Confidently. Confidently. No.
Donovan Edwards kind of popped off in the national
Okay.
championship game.
If you had mid running backs, period, across the board.
Why are we living in the land of hypotheticals?
You're living in a land of freaking, I don't know, Candyland, thinking that JJ
We're
McCarthy is going
acting
to be a
we're acting
future
like
MVP candidate.
we're acting like JJ McCarthy wasn't one of the most efficient passers in college football the past 2 seasons, like he isn't a 27-1 record as a starter, and like he didn't win a national championship, Dennis.
Did he win those games by himself, Derek? Did he win them all by himself?
Dennis, how many quarterbacks win the game all by
Individually.
themselves?
Would you actually even give him credit for like 10% of those games?
Yes!
No. No.
Dennis, you're being ridiculous. Do you think Caleb Williams is a better prospect than JJ McCarthy? And if so, why?
No. He's not.
Okay, so who is?
I would say Bo Nix probably is.
What has
I
Bo
would say
Nix
that
done?
Michael
What
Penix
what
is.
has Bo
I
Nix
would say
done to
Drake
be a
May
better
is.
prospect? Drake May in the ACC can't win more than 8 games as a better prospect than JJ McCarthy. Dennis, what are we doing here?
Does does whoever drafts JJ McCarthy get to inherit the entire offensive, defensive, and coaching personnel of the University of Michigan? I don't think so.
If he goes to the Chargers, yes.
But, touche, touche. But the point I'm making is you have, and trust me, I get it. I like the strategy from an NFL team perspective. I like the strategy of drafting players that come from good programs that have experience with success, have been around success, and know what it takes to win. I understand that. However, there is an element to the draft that comes down to the individual player and his abilities, and you don't evaluate that through him going 27-1. I mean, how many Alabama quarterbacks went undefeated and busted in the NFL? Endlessly.
Well, I don't know of too many Alabamas that were first
And Trevor
rounders.
Lawrence.
I mean, we're not writing the book on Trevor Lawrence just yet, but
I'm not writing the book yet either. I'm not writing the book on him yet either.
I mean, I don't really remember AJ McCarron being a first rounder. Stetson Bennett was nearly undrafted, if not undrafted. So I mean, that also that's
Yeah,
the reason.
McCarron was a fourth rounder. We took him in the fourth
Yeah,
round.
the reason this came about, Dennis, is because I said JJ McCarthy is a first rounder, and you started shaking your head, and I couldn't fathom why that was, what you had against him.
Well, I've just explained why that was.
Yeah, but not. Why do none of those things apply to Drake May or Caleb Williams or Bo Nix? As if Washington wasn't, or Michael Penix, as if Washington wasn't also in the national championship. So
Okay,
why is
they
Michael
do,
Penix
and
why is Michael Penix a better prospect than JJ McCarthy when they both had national championship level surrounding talent? I'm just
because
trying to understand.
because because Washington wouldn't have been anywhere close to where they were if you take Michael Penix out for the entire season. They wouldn't. It's my subjective opinion. It's my eye test opinion. But they wouldn't be. He meant more to that team than J.J. McCarthy meant to Michigan.
I would agree with that statement, Dennis.
Sure.
I think
It's my
I think that's
opinion, but that's what I'm saying.
pretty fair.
I just think it's a little bit disingenuous to say Washington wouldn't have been in the national championship without Michael Penix, as if Michigan also would not have been in the national championship without J.J. McCarthy.
You see, I don't know. I don't know how good Michigan's backup is, but he seems to be pretty highly touted. So, we'll
He's
see. I
thrown
guess.
5 career passes. And Cade McNamara looked like a D2 quarterback against Georgia. That's all I'm getting to the point here. Cade McNamara looked like a D2 quarterback against Georgia, and then
What's the
J.J.
backup
McCarthy beat
backup's name there?
Alabama. J.J.
I'm pretty sure he's
McCarthy
got a
retired.
legendary name.
J.J. McCarthy retired Nick Saban, and we're acting like he's a scrub. I'm just trying to understand
No,
why
he's
that
not a scrub.
is.
He's not a scrub. He's not a scrub. No, I'm not saying that.
If he can
I'm not
meditate
saying.
his way into the first round, then
Oh, there's the personal
mind bend
attacks.
some
There's
NFL,
the personal attacks
mind
from
some,
Dennis.
mind bend some NFL GM in
I
order
knew he had
convince
something
them that
against him. Now I know it's
that he's the
personal.
second coming, then that's fine. That's
Now I know
whatever.
it's personal.
Good
I
for him.
understand now,
Congrats.
Dennis. I understand. I understand now.
I don't know. I don't know how good JJ McCarthy will be as an NFL quarterback. I mean, if you put a gun to my head and ask me right now, I would say probably very average to probably below average. But
Most star.
But the I think it's reasonable to expect that he will go in the first round and that people would want to take him in the first round. I just don't have
because there's going to be like 25
I just don't
quarterbacks
have a
taken in
great-
the first round
like,
because that's the only position
I just
that
don't have a
anybody
great
gives a crap
vibe.
about.
Dennis, is it fair to say that Michael Penix may be the next Geno Smith? That's the kind of comp I'm getting right now from Michael Penix. Sorry to change the topic, but
no, it's interesting. So
Michael Penix has to hope
I
his
love Michael
knee
Penix,
doesn't
but
give out again.
he did not.
Well,
he
right.
didn't help himself in the national championship game. That's for sure. He didn't help himself because his reliable accuracy was non-existent for parts of that game.
Well, it's amazing what happens when you play a high-quality defense that isn't in the Pac-12 or Big 12. Who could have thought?
Right, and that's the entire NFL. So I think that certainly didn't help his case. However,
Surely J.J. McCarthy did not play against the Alabama, Ohio State, and Penn State defenses. Surely not. They're scrubs. Scrubs, I tell you. Scrubs. No NFL talent on those defenses.
Who's taking JJ McCarthy?
How many-
Who's taking JJ McCarthy?
There,
I gotta know.
So I haven't looked at like any mock drafts, but if I had to guess, I think the Raiders are a potential team. I think you could see the Raiders taking him. I don't know what Harbaugh's going to do with Justin Herbert. No idea. I also don't know what his contract situation looks like. So I have no idea if that's a possibility either. But I'll throw it out there just because of the connection. I'll throw out the Vikings as a possibility until we figure out what Kirk Cousins is going to do. And then, shoot, maybe New England? Maybe New England? I don't see Chicago doing it. Maybe Washington? Maybe. That's probably it. I don't know how Denver's gonna navigate the quarterback market either. I suppose Denver could be a possibility, but I don't know. I don't have any feelers out right now.
I mean, Dennis, Dennis, I have a question for you. Let's follow up here. Does JJ McCarthy give you Mac Jones vibes?
Yes. More than Dak Prescott. Certainly.
That's crazy.
I mean, here's the thing. Last point for me, and then I'm good. I'm done.
Mac
I'm ready
Jones vibes. That's crazy.
More like Bailey Zappi.
Oh my god!
I mean,
Bailey Zappi. Wow. That's got to be a personal shot. I'm like,
No, it's not even. I didn't intend for it to become to become personal like this, but I was just expressing my opinion. Derek is defensive,
I was just asking the question.
understandably. Right. Um. Who who did Jim Harbaugh give the ball to when it mattered most? I think time and time again, any Michigan fan, even honest with themselves, would say that it was the running backs.
Well, yeah, I
And
mean,
that
are
tells
you
you all you
gonna
need to know. It's the coach.
on
It's the head coach. Do you want to put the
Dennis?
and
Are we
nine
gonna
out of 10
QB
head coaches are putting the ball in the hand of their quarterback?
on fourth on and in goal to go situations? They're putting it in the hands of their quarterback.
It's,
In
the
what league?
quarterback is the best player on the team. If the quarterback is the
I
best
mean,
player on
Pete
the team,
Carroll
and you
did that
have
once.
confidence, right? Well, okay, fair enough.
How many times? How many
And he
times
was
do the
ridiculed for it endlessly
How many times do the
because
Vikings run a
Russell Wilson
QB
wasn't the
sneak
best
with
player on the
Kirk
team. Marshawn
Cousins?
Lynch was.
How many times do the Lions run a QB sneak with Jared Goff? How many times do the Vikings run a
Not enough.
QB sneak with Kirk Cousins? How many times do the Packers run a QB sneak with Jordan Love? What are we do? How many times do the Bengals run a QB sneak with Joe Burrow? What are we doing here?
The quarterback can throw the football, right? That's a thing. They don't have to QB sneak it.
Yeah, how
All I'm saying,
many times are the Bengals using Joe Burrow as the primary option and less than 3 yards in goal to go? How many times
I
is he
would say
throwing the
that
ball?
Zach Taylor, when push comes to shove, he's not putting the ball in the hands of Joe Mixon. It's Joe Burrow every single time,
Well, let's
just
see.
about. That's who he wants to have the ball. It's just you want LeBron James to have the ball at the end of the game. You want Joe Burrow to have the ball at the end of the game. You want Patrick Mahomes to have the ball at the end of the game. And
I just
Jim Harbaugh wanted Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards to have the ball at the end of the game.
I
That's all I'm saying.
well I don't know why we're
That's it.
punishing JJ for Blake Corum being the best 2 yard runner in all of football. I don't know why that's a
I mean,
punishment.
a lot of LeGarrette Blunt-esque activity out of Blake Corum.
Correct, and he did it very effectively.
No, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe they're just all, you know, grade A NFL future Hall of Famers. Maybe the whole team is, but I'm just taking the evidence from what I'm being told from the actions of the head coach. And what it was telling me was that he wasn't the best player on the team. And
That is
maybe
It's
it just means
crazy.
they're all that
And
great.
that is a crazy leap for mankind, Dennis.
I don't understand how that's crazy. I really don't. It seems perfectly logical.
Did you do some leg swings before you started stretching, Dennis?
It's, uh,
Dennis, for what it's worth, I don't think that is that illogical of a conclusion to come to.
Thank you, Bobby.
I don't think that's. I don't think it's completely unreasonable, but I still think JJ McCarthy is deservingly a first round quarterback. Whether it's a good idea in my
Oh yeah,
personal,
well he's going to get taken in the top 10 probably because Michigan won the national championship and because the quarterbacks are, you know, God
Win
on earth.
NFL football games? I mean, we just saw Patrick Mahomes basically single-handedly carry one of the worst offenses I've ever seen win a Super Bowl to a championship. And we're going to act like quarterbacks aren't the most important position on the field.
Just said that they are. That's why I just said that the reason he's going to get taken is because they are.
You seemed rather upset about that though. Seems
I am. I
sarcastic.
am upset about it, but it's not changing. There's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is, but I do wish that there was a more even distribution in positional importance. Yes, but that's not happening.
oh man,
I just don't know why Dennis has so much vitriol for JJ McCarthy. I don't know what he did to him. What did
Dennis,
J
any thoughts?
What did JJ do to you, Dennis? Why do you dislike him so much?
I really don't. I really don't. I don't even know how we got started, to be honest with you. I
Dennis,
was just
one more
making a
one more
point
thing for you.
and
I said JJ McCarthy is a first round quarterback and you started shaking your head and got all
oh
mad.
yeah, because in my opinion he's not.
Now, Dennis,
That's how it got started.
Dennis, last thing, we'll leave it at this, and then we'll we'll move along. Final thoughts on Derek's comments that JJ McCarthy will definitely be better than Dak Prescott. Can I get your thoughts on that?
We've laid that out.
I,
We've
I
laid that
think
out.
I think we
Um,
got Dennis's
I
thoughts
don't
on
think
that.
I don't think I don't think that's happening. But yeah, you've got my thoughts on that.
Uh, Truly incredible scenes here. Speaking of
All right,
football, and
sir. Oh,
you got something else to say, Dennis? Where were you thinking?
well, no, I know we're on air here, but I've got to hop off for just like a couple minutes. I was wondering if you guys want to talk about the Pistons or Red Wings or something.
Shh, we can do that. I don't
All
know,
right,
Bob, if you have any thoughts on the NBA draft, but Dennis, message me before you come back because we only got 8 minutes left on this Zoom anyway.
all right,
So just in case I say don't bother, I'll let you know when it reloads.
okay.
All right, sounds good. Bob, we'll skip my previous football discussion topic for now. Any thoughts on the NBA trade deadline, Bob? The Pistons doing Pistons things. Not a whole lot of action at the top. Lay GM was lay capping, talking about going to the Knicks, then acting like he never said anything online, doing classic LeBron things. Uh, and outside of that, there wasn't a whole ton of movement at this deadline. Not too many big names changing destinations. Uh, Probably one of the more boring trade deadlines we've had in some time, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right about that, and I think that the number one thing I need to mention is that we moved on, as in the Pistons, moved on from Bojan Bogdanovic um, for a bag of chips and a used soda,
Bob,
and
how much could we have traded him for last year? Two firsts, I think, was the going price, if I remember correctly.
right, and we got like 2 seconds in a bag of chips. Um, when PJ Washington was going around for first round picks, like he was, some stopper. I mean, Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe PJ Washington has done diddly squat
No,
in this league. Um,
I concur.
just disgusting. I mean, just disgusting behavior the from the Detroit Pistons. Um, but what do you expect? I mean, this is a losing organization um, that can't put anything together, and we got players getting suspended for brawling on the court.
And
I
off the
I always
court,
love
Bob.
I always love you always know I love a good brawl, Derek. I'm a fan of a good brawl, but I mean, what are we doing here?
Bob,
I mean, meet every
why are we punching Drew Eubanks in the face in the tunnels, Bob?
yeah,
Pre-game.
Derek. That's a great question. That's a great question, Derek, because I couldn't even tell you who Drew Eubanks is.
Correct.
Um, so that's all you need to know right there. I mean, we're punching no namers in the face and getting suspended for 3 games, and not even on the court. You can't even do it in front of the cameras. I mean, come on,
Correct.
what are we doing? At least give me something to watch because it's been much better than the product on the court. I'll tell you that much. But overall, I'm petrified, Derek. I'm petrified because the draft is not. There's not really a lot of names that are catching my eye at the moment.
One of the worst
Uh,
drafts of all time.
hopefully as it becomes closer to that time, and you can see a little bit more tape on some of these guys, I'll get a little bit more pumped. However, I gotta say, at this moment, I'm very concerned about the future of this organization. Tom Gores needs to get his head out of his what and right the ship here because something's gone awry. And we're looking at likely what is the worst franchise in the city of Detroit right now. And it's crazy that I would be saying that considering the pretty rich history that this organization has in the National Basketball Association.
Bob, can I get your thoughts on Simo Fontenecchio being the future of the Pistons, perhaps?
Who? That's all I got to say about that.
Bob, how about Evan Fournier, 17 minutes
Oh
minus
my god.
18.
Oh my gosh,
Minus
Derek.
18.
What did I tell you about Evan Fournier? I
Bob,
mean,
Bob, your thoughts on Malachi Flynn, 11 minutes minus 12.
Derek. I mean,
Shake
I'd like to,
Milton, 9 minutes minus 12.
I'd like to think I'm a relatively decent follower of the NBA, and I can't even tell you who these guys. I don't even know these guys, Derek. These guys are, complete no neighbors. that are getting all kinds of time for the Pistons, and they stink, surprisingly, to absolutely nobody.
But we got a big performance from Jalen Duren, though. 15 points, 13 boards. Cade
Well, I hope
Cunningham.
so.
Cade Cunningham with 30 points on 62% from the field, Bob. We'll take that. Plus
We'll take
10.
that, but
Plus 10 on the court, by
just
the way.
not enough, Nick. Just not enough.
I mean, Bob,
Oh man, I was gone long enough that you had to talk about the Pistons stat line. This is ugly.
well, we started with the Pistons trade deadline debacles and then moved on into
Mm,
this was the first game back from the All-Star break. Speaking of the All-Star break, Bob, since there isn't really much else to talk about in terms of the NBA trade deadline, as we've got 3 minutes here. Um, did either of you watch any of the All-Star break festivities and or have any thoughts on them? Because I did not watch any of them and as such have zero thoughts on them. I heard
Yeah, I didn't really
I have
watch.
zero thoughts.
I didn't really watch a lot of the actual game. I did watch some of the 3-point contest and some of the skill stuff and some of the dunk contests as well. Um, yeah, it's really sad that the dunk contest now has kind of been watered down as well because it seems like the judges I think it's more on the judges than it is necessarily the dunkers because the judges are just giving out 50s for bummy dunks
correct.
comparatively. You know, you kind of let the first couple dunks, set a standard, and then you kind of go from there. Is my kind of way I'd be judging it. And Jalen Brown's getting high scores for dunking over Kai Cenat. We got
Correct.
Matt McClung. We got Matt McClung out here dunking over Shaq, and apparently that's basically even.
Bob Kai
Um,
Cenat, 3 feet, 1.5 in a chair.
right? No kidding. No kidding. No kidding, Derek. I saw a lot of buzz on that on social media. Um, the Steph Curry versus Sabrina shoot off was kind of a cool idea. A lot of talent between those two, and it was a good, very competitive.
Bob, any
Uh,
thoughts
you know,
on Kenny the Jet Smith's
yeah, I was
comments?
just about to talk about the Jet.
He might have been
Looking
off
like
the
an
sauce.
absolute moron.
Yeah.
Looking like an absolute moron. Somebody get the sheep hook for Kenny the Jet Smith. I've always thought the Jet was the worst member of that crew.
Did he
Um,
prove it that night, Bob?
I think he did. Um, just what are you doing, the Jet? Um, but yeah, I mean, besides that, it's typical NBA All Star festivities. I mean, the game just doesn't mean anything anymore. It was kind of cool to see the East versus West thing again. Because it's always been like that. But I thought one of the most fun parts of the All Star festivities in recent years was the draft. I thought that was kind of a fun part because that always kind of there was always some sort storylines or drama or stuff around that because at least like you'd be like, oh, do these players want to play together? Maybe they'll try to join each other in the off season. It was kind of a fun thing to tune into. Now it's just like there's nothing really to watch.
Sure. We'll be right back after this short break. Sorry for the interruption. All right, and we're back. It's unfortunate we do not have sponsors to be able to advertise in the little cuts, but maybe one day we'll get some. But yeah, Bob,
DMs are open.
yep,
DMs are open.
DMs are absolutely open. If anyone wants to sponsor us, we'll throw you in the ad breaks when we have to reset the Zoom. Bob, any more closing thoughts on the All Star break? Thought you summed it up pretty well.
Nothing more than what I said, Derek. I just shames me that there's not more meaning behind it.
Sure, yeah, couldn't agree more. Bob, do you have any ideas as to how to make it meaningful again?
I think the only way to really make it meaningful is to put there's some kind of incentive, either cash incentive, maybe, or a like the baseball world where you get some sort of home field advantage or something like that. Something that's meaningful for like playoffs or something.
Yeah, yeah, probably the only way
How
to
is
do it.
the This is a out of pocket question. How is the fourth game potential home field decided it for the finals currently in the NBA?
Uh,
Like who gets the
Better
who would get the
overall
fourth game?
record,
Better overall record.
I think.
I
I'm
was
pretty
just
sure that's
curious.
how it goes.
I think so as well.
Better overall regular season record.
Yeah. But yeah. I don't really have anything to add there. Just heard the dunk contest, which is not really the dunkers' faults that we've pretty much seen every dunk there is to be dunked. But I totally agree on the judges' part. Dwayne Wade ruined it. Dwayne Wade single-handedly ruined the dunk contest, Bob. I don't know if you care to agree or disagree with that one, but I never forget the Dwayne Wade memes when he absolutely robbed, who was it, Aaron Gordon, of one of the best dunks of all time, and from then on the judges have just completely lost their acorns.
I was a big Zach LaVine fan myself, Derek.
Yeah, yeah, it is what it is. Back to the football realms. Some big news has come out in the past week, and Dennis, it may incline you to finally purchase a PS5 console. NCAA College
Oh
Football
yes.
25 is coming this summer. And a lot of stuff has come out recently. We had sort of a mini trailer a week ago. We had the announcement that all 134 current FBS Division One teams will be in the game. We have confirmation that players will be paid $600 and get a copy of the game for free for opting in to be used in the game. And we have the announcements of Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler, Jesse Pollock, or David Pollock, Jesse Palmer. Oh, and there's one more, uh, Desmond Howard, and there's one more sports media personality that I'm forgetting that is confirmed to be in the game as well. And we should be getting a full trailer here pretty soon. Bob, are you excited as I am for College Football 25 to make its return?
I hope they have some sort of like Diamond Dynasty or
I'm
Ultimate Team mode
yeah.
in this game. That was kind of always the one thing that they didn't have comparatively. Um, However, the game's not been around for some time. That is, sort of a newer phenomenon. I'm very excited to see what it's all about, and mascot mode better be back.
Listen, I totally agree with mascot mode.
Yes. Yes.
Mascot mode is legendary. Yeah, definitely
Stanford.
the Stanford tree.
The
Never
trees.
forget.
The trees, baby.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, the college football games had very early renditions of Madden Ultimate Team style. It wasn't very fleshed out and was, I mean, it was 2014, 2015, so even that concept was pretty new at the time. But from what I've seen, they're gonna have a transfer portal. You're gonna have NIL deals in Dynasty mode. Um, it's going to be, I mean, recruiting's going to get reworked. And from what I've read, even though it's going to use the same engine as Madden does, the actual mechanics and the gameplay should be substantially different. And I know from just years past that I'm pretty sure they either collaborated with or hired some of the people who sort of did the mods for the old college football games, and so they actually had some input on how this current game turned out. So I'm really hopeful. I'll be pre-ordering because I could not be more excited. Dennis, will you be joining us? Will you be joining us? Will
It
we
might be
have a
time.
garbage time takes dynasty mode where the three of us will all play in the league and see who's the best of the best? Will you
I think
join us?
I think that has to happen. That right there might have just convinced me because this is it's got to happen.
Gotta happen. Gotta happen. Bob, any further thoughts?
Far overdue, Derek. Far overdue.
I mean, can you literally $600 and a copy of the game was all it took. I'm devastated. Devastated. That's what kept us away from the game for a decade.
Almost makes it more sweet.
That it does. Um, Other than that, there isn't too much going on in the other sports worlds other than something we can all be excited about. Pitchers and catchers have reported. Dennis, Bob, how about it? Our
We had a
fantasy.
game today.
We did have a game today.
We had a game today.
The Cubs' first game is tomorrow, Sloan Park, Mesa, Arizona. Uh, Baseball draft will be coming up before we even know it. Boys, are we ready for baseball season? Are we ready?
I couldn't be more excited for this season. This is the most excitement I've had going into a baseball season in quite some time. Um, Most of that, of course, hinges on the hopes and dreams around the Cincinnati Reds this season that have been absent um, for darn near a decade, if I'm being totally honest. But also excited for fantasy baseball. Also excited for just the MLB to be back in general. Have games throughout the day, and yeah, I mean I'm excited to run it back again with you guys in the spring training. The Reds play on Saturday. It's the classic opening cross complex matchup with the Guardians. So spring training it's more of a symbol than anything else. The games themselves usually not very interesting, but definitely a symbol of baseball right around the corner.
Bob, any thoughts on your end?
It's time for fantasy baseball, baby. It's time to start wheeling and dealing. I've got the itch, Derek. I've got the itch. Don't be surprised if you see a deal made before draft day.
Oh, very interesting, Bob. Very interesting. The
Well,
only
we've got like 2 weeks for keepers, and then two more weeks for the draft. So it's 4 weeks from the draft, pretty much.
yeah, we're getting up on it pretty close. Um, question, Dennis, thoughts on the MLB's New Jerseys?
I heard a little bit about that for the first time today, and I heard that there's a see-through problem, which seems problematic, amongst other problems with um, some of the uh, some of the like the text
Correct. Correct.
on the backs. And yeah, I mean, lay it out there for me, but it seems like there's some issues going on here, and uh, I'll take every opportunity I can to throw some dirt on Rob Manfred. So if that's what it takes, then let's do that.
Did we have any thoughts on the picture I sent in the group chat? And whether or not I should share my screen and let the people see it as well. Just tell me you guys saw what I saw.
We saw it, Derek.
Dennis, did you see it?
I I believe I did. Just throw it up though. Why not?
I know Bob saw. I didn't get a reaction in the chat, so I was a little concerned. Um, anything stick out to you, Dennis?
Ants?
Yeah, it is. It does have to do with the pants.
Yeah.
Well, dang. That's a bit of a problem.
I would say so. I would say
Why?
so.
Why would they make?
Oh, I, I
How,
didn't I didn't have it on screen for the
Oh
stream.
no, Dennis.
It's there now though. Yes.
how did they not? How was this is a multi-billion-dollar industry? How did we not double check the pants?
Yeah, that one's
One's
I'm not
I'm
sure how that one made it through the quality control. Not sure.
My company of 25 people has better quality control than that. Come on. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yep, so we've got very thin material, we've got very see-through material. It might turn into a wet t-shirt contest when it rains. Well, I mean, it remains to be seen at this point. Not sure how the MLB bounces back from this one, but I can tell you one thing, any future MLB jerseys I will be getting will be from our good friends in the sweatshops of China who make high-quality jerseys for very cheap.
I think we might have to cut that. Some editing,
I mean,
some video editing software.
listen. The knockoff counterfeit jerseys are literally better than anything mass produced by the current companies that these or leagues affiliate themselves with. I can personally maybe or not vouch for those products. Can neither confirm nor deny. But let's just say I know people who have them and they're very impressed. But yeah, that's where the MLB is. Instead of everyone being super excited for spring training and the impending season, all the conversations seem to be focused on the uh, decidedly decrease in quality among the jerseys and their fabrics. So, what can you do? What can you do? Fanatics has ruined it again. Michael Rubin, what are you doing? Other than that, I don't really have anything else to add. I think there hasn't been too much big sports news recently. I'll just say the Detroit Red Wings have overtaken the Tampa Bay Lightning for the number one wild card spot in the Eastern Conference of the NHL. Um, so my early season prediction that they would finally make the playoffs this year is looking good. Any other big news on the sports fronts from you guys?
Uh, not really a big one by any means, but um, just something I wanted to throw in there, kind of off the wall. I sent this to you, Derek, but I have been finding out more about this. I guess they're calling it an invitational for a spot in a PGA Tour event in Myrtle Beach that is basically consisting of 16 mostly like YouTube social media golfers, including our good friend Fat Perez
Correct.
from Bob Does Sports,
Correct.
and Grant Horvat, and I think one of the good guys. And so there's this field of 16 golfers who are basically competing for a spot in an actual tour event, which is pretty wild. And I was listening to a podcast earlier today. They were talking about this, and basically they were giving some credit to the PGA Tour because this is pretty forward thinking to allow them to do this. I mean, this is something that the tour would have traditionally shot down pretty quickly, I think.
Right.
And I think it say what you want, but I think that it is something that is probably positive for the game. I mean, people are going to be interested in that. I mean, if
And
you
it's
have
not.
somebody that you've been following and watching on YouTube competing, even if it's even if it's no chance, it's of interest.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it's not like they're scrubs or anything. I mean,
Oh,
all of those guys have partnerships with Callaway or all those types of things. They're sponsored by all the big golf brands, and I mean, just think, Dennis. A few short years ago, content creators couldn't even get on Augusta to film stuff, and now even the Masters is opening up the course to allow content creators to come and show what's on the course. You got good old Ricky Shields going to the old course. I mean, golf. I agree, Dennis. Very good for the game of golf, and yeah, it's not like these guys are scrubs at all. They're all scratch golfers. And
I
yeah,
was gonna say
there's
you're absolutely right. I heard today that they all fit the criteria of like a normal PGA qualifier, which is like zero handicap or better.
right.
So like these are all really high quality golfers.
Right, and
Um,
yeah, it's definitely forward thinking. Like, where else would you have just amateur, highly skilled content creators having a chance to go compete in the professional league that
right.
they enjoy so much? Really, I mean, it's very difficult to do for. I mean, the NBA isn't just offering randoms off the streets for the most part. There was that one content creator over in Europe. He might have been from the UK who got offered a tryout. Bob, you might know more about that than I do since you're in the soccer scene. No, shaking your head, that's all right. But there was a guy who was a soccer content creator who was offered for a tryout for one of the pro teams in his area or something like that. But very rarely do you see like you know, outside of maybe what was that kicker or punter's YouTube name? Who was that?
Pickalicious.
Yeah, Kickalicious. Outside of Kickalicious, I can't think of the last like content creator to get a shot at a pro league. So yeah, very cool. Thanks for that, Bob. Good call.
Yeah, that was pretty much all I had. College basketball, we're getting towards the end here, but
Yeah, I could
I
care
think,
less.
my teams suck. Yeah, Michigan sucks.
Sucks.
But Bobby, how's Michigan State hanging in there?
They're hanging in there.
I haven't been tracking.
They're hanging.
They're hanging around, hanging around.
We're hanging
Izzo's
around,
got the boys
just on
hanging
the edge,
around. Okay.
Dennis.
It's your classic. I mean, not to interject and to interrupt Bob, but it's your classic Tom Izzo team. Just your classic Tom Izzo team. I'm sure they'll find their way into Sweet 16.
How about it, Dennis?
That's what we love to see.
A,
That's
bit,
what
a
we
bit
love
a
to
bit of a fall off from the preseason number 4 team, but it was always going to be that way. When you got a Tom Izzo Michigan State Spartan team, they're just that's just what they do. It's just what they do, and Bob knows it best. But yeah, U of A is good, so at least I've got them. But U of M basketball basically killed any interest I had in keeping up with college basketball this year. So, and
Well,
the
I mean,
last
maybe
time,
that's my answer. There was one last thing I wanted to ask about because I've kind of felt like across the board this year, college basketball has just been much less intriguing, and I don't know what it is.
not
I
a lot of
really
star
don't.
power.
I've
It's
just watched so much less of it.
I think the single primary reason is there's very little star power, very few even borderline elite teams, and the quality of basketball just in the country as a whole is just not very good this year. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
and you'll
I'm
see
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
it if you look at NBA mock drafts. You're not gonna recognize probably a single name in the top 5, if not the top 10. It's just very down year for college basketball this year as a whole. So that's probably got a lot to do with it.
There you go. Yeah, that was my take as well.
I mean, does anyone
Yeah, no,
really?
as long as
I was gonna say, does anyone really want to see Zach Edey get 20 free throws a game in the tournament? Not really.
no, it kind of feels like we're all just kind of hanging around waiting for the names of the teams from the Ohio Valley and Sun Belt and
Correct.
all those conferences so we can have somebody to root for.
Correct.
Because other than that, it seems kind of pointless.
The Oral Roberts and the Fairleigh Dickinsons
Yep.
and the Mercers of the world. We're just waiting on them. How about CMU,
Maybe that'll
baby?
reinvite everybody.
Maybe it'll
But
be
CMU is
CMU.
firing up,
Maybe it'll be
firing up,
CMU.
baby.
You never know. Yeah, the last time
Calling
we
the MAC.
discussed the last time we discussed college basketball on the pod was the last pod in which Bob told me about Arizona being in a battle and then they lost on buzzer beater 3 that
They're
ended
in a
the
battle again
podcast.
right now.
They are in a battle again, and that ended the podcast. So fortunately, that the current U of A game is not close to ending, so I won't have to be sad on the recording. But other than that, do you guys have winners and losers? I certainly don't have a right bench baller of the week, but I didn't know if you guys had winners and losers. We've had
I
3
can
weeks.
do I can do one winner
Sure, give it to us.
if that would suffice.
Go for it.
And then the winner of the week this week is, we're going back to an old classic. We're going to do me as the winner of the week because I played my first United States Chess Federation rated tournament. Chess is a sport too, counting folks. 4 wins, 0 losses.
Count it.
We're on the come up, baby. We're on the come up.
Love it.
Lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into my preparation, went into my journey, and it paid off.
Yeah.
Massive congratulations to Bobby. I mean, if we're doing that route, then I think I've got a loser, which would be me, for just in general sucking at chess.
All right, fair enough. I've got 2 winners. One is Bobby for being a recently engaged man. Clap it up, folks. Clap it up, Bobby Epler, a double winner on this week's pod. Congratulations, Bob, been a long time coming.
Very rare occurrence. Very rare occurrence for a double winner.
Correct. And then the other winner is me. So we've got 3 winners on this pod because I won last week's PGA Tour Pick'em by picking the
There we
number 1
go.
player of the week. So give myself a little pat on the back for that one. I've been near the top the past 2 weeks, hoping Tony Finau can give us another good one.
I'm losing that too. I'm in last place in my own pick'em.
Oh no.
It's just tough. Disgusting.
Dennis thought he knew golf. Well, he doesn't know diddly.
Hey, here's the thing. It's a long game. It's a long. I know that there's
Long
already been
season.
a couple of people, Derek included, that have used Scotty Scheffler. I have not. There's a long way to go in this thing. There's a lot of money to be won. I'm not, not panicking yet. Not panicking yet. But
I
I'm
didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to go too long without using him, so I just figured I'd use him right away in a big tournament and see what happened, and it worked out. You take first place when you can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what it came down to for me with Finau this week was basically I'm not going to use Finau. I'm not saving him for anything. I mean, there's enough other guys, especially when you kick back the live guys in the majors. There's
Correct.
enough guys to fill the rest of my schedule. I
Correct.
don't need to save Tony Finau.
Yeah. And then I guess my loser of the week is Michigan basketball fans because Ward Manuel will not commit to firing Juwan Howard, which he should have been fired weeks ago. So for as long as Juwan Howard is employed, Michigan basketball will remain a laughing stock in the NCAA, and our once proud program built by John Beeline has crumbled into dust like the Roman Empire. So that's been a tough one to swallow. Tough one to swallow indeed. But yeah,
It's time for social medias, Derek.
uh, in one brief second, I do have a garbage time takes your money to review all the way from championship weekend. It was the Ravens and the Chiefs. The line was -3.5 in Baltimore's favor. The over under was set at 44.5. If I remember correctly, the Chiefs and the under hit, right? Wasn't it super low scoring? So Bob and Dennis both went 2 for 2. I went 0 for 2. And it was at that point I vowed to never bet against Patrick Mahomes ever again, and I was proven correct. So that'll be the wrap up for that garbage time takes your
Yeah,
money.
they won 17-10. So that was definitely the under.
Yeah. So I'm gonna assume Bob does not have an offhand GTT or money, so we'll save it for next time. And let's hope that it doesn't take us 3 weeks to do another episode. Bob, take it away with the socials.
At Garbage Time Takes on Instagram, at Garbage Time Takes on X. Of course, you can find the link to our video in the description of this, or the link to our website, rather, in the link of this description below. And of course, as always, thanks for tuning in. Please feel free to hit us with a like, comment, and subscription. And you know what? Share us with a friend. We're back. We're better than ever. And you know what? Dennis is committing. We're gonna make him sign documents that say he's gonna make the next 5 pods. So we'll see.
Well, well, you know, yeah, yeah. Documents may need to be signed.
Dennis, why do we need to get documents signed to get you to commit to doing the pod on a weekly basis?
Because next week I'm going to be in Denver presenting a research poster on
Bob,
hail risk, Derek. That's
Bob, it
why.
might just be me and you next week.
That's why.
Last week, Dennis was in D.C. Next week, he's going to be in Colorado. When are you going to California, Dennis? When's that trip?
The week after that.
The
It's
week.
right on the end of that.
Okay. Yeah. So Bob, looks like we may be running a 2-man pod here for the foreseeable future.
Thanks for nothing, Dennis.
Back to
All right,
look,
all right.
Dennis. Unfortunately, I believe you're going to have to be demoted back to guest star status.
And I don't think we ever demoted Bobby to guest star status. He was missing out.
I got a track record, Dennis, of success.
I have a track record for a lot of things right now.
That you do, Dennis. But yeah, thanks again so much for watching. I want to show off this shirt real quick.
There we go.
RuneScape themed, courtesy of my brother a few Christmases ago. For those of you who play RuneScape out there, double XP currently, so make sure you get on that. Without further ado, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, as Bob said. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified when the next pod goes live, because as you guys have found out, we're not all that consistent at the moment, but we'd like to be. But yeah, thanks again so much for watching. We always appreciate all the views and support, and we'll see you on the next episode, whenever that may be. So, without further ado, we'll see you next time in 3.
1.
Peace.
Peace.